Hello, everybody. My name is Abdulrahman Alsafh, and welcome to ICS Arabia. Today's guest, engineer, ICS security consultant, Abdulrahman Alsafh from Saudi Arabia. Welcome, Mr. Abdulrahman.
Thank you very much, Suleiman, and really appreciate the invitation
Sure.
to such valuable discussion.
Sure, you're welcome. Today's topic is we're gonna talk about cybersecurity responsibilities in the ICS. But before we talk about this topic, let's get to know you first. Could you tell us, please, about you?
Okay, I will give a quick brief about my experience in ICS, Industrial Control System. I started my first experience as industrial control system integrator with several companies, including Giganor, Allen Bradley, and Siemens, and that was for almost 5 years. Then I started working on the energy sector as automation engineer. I started my first job experience with cybersecurity in 2012 in energy sector. And later I moved into Ernst & Young as a consultant on OT cybersecurity, focusing on ICS cybersecurity assessment. And to be honest, my experience being a system integrator for almost 5 years served me very well when I did the cybersecurity assessment in industrial control system. So this is a quick brief about my experience.
Cool. Quite impressive. So how long you've been in OT security? Like you told me before, 15 years?
Around 15 years now.
15 years.
It's a long journey.
Wow. And you've like done different roles, or was it like the same role in every time, in every place?
No, it was really different roles. In the beginning, I was working as a technician, moving into application engineer, doing the programming myself for different processes, food and beverage, and steel factory, for example, in the industry. Then moving into energy was a big step because what you have in distribution and in transmission plant is totally somehow, I would say, totally different from what you have got an industrial control system in terms of how the processes are happening. After that, it was completely different, moving into consultancy sector where you are doing the cybersecurity assessment and the backbone integration for different facilities. So nice. I would say it was different roles and responsibility.
Nice. So you worked for Siemens, right?
Yeah.
Is this Siemens PLC behind you?
Yeah, this is the lab setup I have with Siemens, PLCs, Giganor, and Mitsubishi, and I have one video also on this in my channel. So yeah, we are trying to keep up. You know?
Oh, nice. By the way, Abdulrahman has a YouTube channel called ICS and Cyber. I will link it in the description. In his channel, he describes or he discusses his test bed and in details, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so let's head to the topic. So we're gonna talk about cybersecurity responsibilities in an ICS environment. So what do you mean by this topic and why is it important? If you want to share something in a slide or something, you're welcome to do it.
Yeah, let me share the slide.
Sure.
I hope the slide is clear.
Okay.
So today's cybersecurity and industrial control system is kind of a big challenge when we talk about deploying any cybersecurity solution and maintaining that and managing it. And when you look at it from different perspectives, it's not as easy as we have in IT, in information technology. I'm not saying information technology is easy, but it's much easier compared to what we have in industrial control system, where we have all these processes and a huge, I would say, asset and equipment. And this depends from process to process, from manufacturer to manufacturer. So in this slide, I have put several department and division inside the organization, ICS organization. If I take, for example, in refinery, in pharmaceutical, in food and beverage, for example, I have lists, in my opinion, the major department involved in the process or should be involved in the process. So starting with HR, human resources, then we have the procurement, and when we talk about procurement, we are talking about purchasing and contracting. Then we have the safety department and engineering, where we have the project managers, designers, quality assurance, etc. And we have the services and maintenance department, and usually it's different from company to another. So if we are talking about, for example, in some refinery, I have seen that they have two different departments for services and maintenance. One is responsible for the higher level, starting from level 2, level 1 to level 3.5 audio module, where they have the controllers, where they have the endpoint. And we have another department, service and maintenance department, who are responsible for the instrumentation and the calibration of level 0 devices. And this is one example. And then you have number 6, the operation department. This takes us to the next level, where we have the IT department and GRC, and today they play some roles when it comes to cybersecurity and industrial control system. So this is overview of the industrial control system organization. Snowy cut, then we go to the next level, where we have system integrator and supplier and vendors involved in any industrial control system. And later on, we will cover this topic, why system integrator could be the best to work on cybersecurity and both.
Okay, Abdulrahman. Let's talk about the topic and talk about cybersecurity roles in ICS environment. So could you tell us, please?
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about cybersecurity responsibility in ICS, I would say, and based on the slide we are seeing here, The responsibility need to be managed with the following party, including the human resources, including the procurement, including purchasing and contracting department. Safety department need to be involved in such process. We have engineering division or department in any industrial control system organization or end user, where we have the project managers and designers, etc. In number 5, we have services and maintenance department. And number 6, we have the operation department. I believe all of them need to be part of the cyber security process. They should have different rules and responsibility. Now, here we need to differentiate, because if I take a cement factory, for example, and a refinery, in refinery, I will have a different department who are responsible for the refinery operation, to monitor, to control, etc. And I have separate department to do the services and maintenance. In cement factory, for example, in some which I have visited, we have services and maintenance and operation at a single department, and the same people are getting the same job. So when we work on cyber security responsibility, we need to understand the organization structure and how they are managing the process and what are the responsibility in each one of them. This takes us to the second level with number 10 and 9, where I have GRC and IT department GRC. In some organization, I have under the IT department the GRC, in some separate, and they also involved in such process. I would say, unfortunately, because I'm not against IT people to have responsibility toward OT or ICS cybersecurity, but if the IT representative have enough time to do OT cybersecurity or to be involved in some of the process, then he need to learn what's going on in OT. If he is in refinery, he need to understand the system he will deal with, and usually we end up deal with conflict of interest. Should I manage IT? Should I work my OT responsibility, or should I do it in OT? We take it also to the third level here, where we have system integrator and supplier who provide the solutions, the services to the industrial control system environment. In my opinion, and we will discuss that later, system integrator are the best option to manage and handle cyber security based on the experience they have, and we will cover that later. So, Suleiman, this is a quick overview about the responsibility and the department involved. Of course, here I'm not covering all the department, and it's different from organization to another. So, yeah.
Wow, very, very good. Thank you. So, are you suggesting that every asset owner or any industry should have this kind of structure, this kind of roles? Or this is like what for big companies, small companies, like to have HR, safety department? So, I mean, your structure here, does it fit every company or every asset owner, or what?
Okay, this is a good question. Actually, we cannot do it this way. So let me elaborate more on this. If you are dealing with refinery or in petrochemical, the way how the organization structure is different from what we have in cement factory. When we deal with it in, for example, in pharmaceutical, it's not exactly the same. So at the end, it depends on how the responsibility are managed and who's doing what in that organization. Let us take, for example, here the operation department. If I take it as a refinery, for example, a refinery is a very critical process, I think, and we all agree on that. It makes no sense you ask the operator, for example, in refinery, to take part of the cybersecurity responsibility or to do, for example, the ICS cybersecurity operation. You will end up here with conflict of interest, for example. Another thing here, or at the same time, operation department need to be involved in the cybersecurity process in terms of awareness. I have, during my different site assessment, I have noticed operation have not, for example, involved in a single cybersecurity awareness program that address the ICS environment itself. Okay, they take IT cybersecurity awareness program that you can be hacked by phishing email and other stuff, but you need to enhance their knowledge, their capability in a way that when they monitor the process, when they monitor the measurement and control the process, if any abnormal situation happens, they can support and they can tell, okay, this is a cyber attack or this is a technical fault. It's not an easy thing to be done, but at some level they need to be part of it. This is one thing. Another way to do it is when an incident happens, how the operator will respond toward that incident. It's one of the cybersecurity responsibility they need to be involved by doing a simulation or by doing a cybersecurity education program. Okay, if we have and defining the scenario and the procedure. So if we are under a cyber attack and X scenario happened, you guys need to support the maintenance team, the engineering team, the safety department with X, Y, and Z. So this is when it comes to the operation department. So I have a limited responsibility to them and major one at the same time. You cannot tell the operation department, guys, I need you to do penetration testing, for example, or I need you to do a GRC job. I need you to develop the policy, for example. You can take their support in terms of how they are managing and how they are accessing the system, but you cannot ask them to develop the communication. So this is for the operation department. If you take it for services and maintenance department, you can enhance their knowledge in cybersecurity in a way they can do the cyber security operation. What I mean by operation here, updating the security patch if it's applicable, update the signature files, monitor the processes, abnormal behavior after doing the security patch update, for example, and supporting the POC, proof of concept, etc. So I have limited cybersecurity activity. I can assign it to the service and maintenance department to support the process.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. That's that was very insightful. So, Abdulrahman, so if you visit a company, say an asset owner, where they have operation technology or industrial operations, and they don't have established cybersecurity plan or role or structure, like, for example, the IT are working alone and the OT people are working alone, and they've never heard about something called ICS security or OT security. So should you tell them, what should you tell them? To follow this structure, or what will you tell them? Now you're meeting me, I'm the manager, what will you tell me? How is cybersecurity?
Let's agree that we cannot take what's going on, what's happening in terms of cybersecurity in IT and do the same thing in OT. So establishing a cybersecurity team, in my opinion, should come within the environment we have. We should invest on the people we have inside the industrial control system environment. I'm referring here to the engineering, to the service and maintenance department, and operation department. And when we look at it from engineering perspective, if the project manager who is handling the ICS project is not aware about cybersecurity requirement, for example, then I have an issue here. If I have a project manager, for example, who is not aware about the impact that come from cybersecurity solution like next generation firewall or from intrusion detection system and how to be deployed, then we have a problem here. So we can enhance the knowledge of the people we have in level 4 and 5 and 6, and they can work it out. I don't think it is it's difficult to do such thing. When I rely on IT people to do cybersecurity in my industrial control system environment, they need to understand the environment. I'm not saying that, okay, they need to know everything related to ICS, cybersecurity and ICS process. No one does. It's a huge world, I would say.
It's a different domain. Yep.
It's totally different domain. It's mainly focused on process. And as you know, sometimes you use the same PLC in different processes. Like you have S7-1500 being used in pharmaceutical, in refinery, in cement factory. But the criticality of that PLC is much higher from the one in pharmaceutical, etc. So we are dealing with different processes. I'm not against IT people to do such thing, to be involved in ICS cybersecurity responsibility, but at the same time, they need to put the effort to learn the process, to understand what's going on. Otherwise, we will have a lot of wrong decision and ending up with so many losses.
So you recommend or you advise that they should learn the process first. Okay, once they learn the process, so now they want to secure it now. They want to establish a plan or a program. Of course, you advise that they should learn the process first. Okay, then should they proceed to cybersecurity controls after that or solutions?
When you start with deploying cybersecurity solution, let's assume you are deploying the next generation firewall or endpoint solution. I always recommend an alignment between the services and maintenance department. And why I would recommend services and maintenance department, because they understand the system, they understand the process, and they know how to handle it if any impact happens. Of course, you need to assure you have a backup of the system you are deploying the solution on. If you are doing endpoint solution, you need to have a backup of the PCs or industrial PC. Similarly, if you are deploying a next generation firewall, you need to be aware, for example, should I use intrusion prevention system and block the suspicious traffic, or should I keep it on monitoring? So it has to be managed this way, and I always say the final decision in the process should come from maintenance department, services department, and from the vendor who's providing the industrial control system solution. So it takes the support from vendor or system integrator, and it takes also the support from the services and maintenance department.
So, okay, now this is done. So what mistakes, common mistakes you've seen that the vendors have done to the organizations? Like, you know, there are many vendors, and there are different, I'm sure there are different experiences you've seen with the vendors that they offer the cybersecurity solutions. I'm talking about the cybersecurity solution vendors. And when they come to an organization where they have industrial operations, what common mistakes or what common issues have you seen from your experience?
Okay, this is a difficult question, to be honest. But let's differentiate here between cybersecurity vendor and system integrator vendor. Not system integrator, ICS solution vendors. For example, usually when you deal with vendors, ICS vendors, some will recommend you the cybersecurity solution that they have partnership with, and the solution that will not affect their process and functionality. And here comes a question, okay, if the vendor, for example, suggests me to use an endpoint solution, let's call it X, and I need to ask the question here, is X endpoint solution support the OT environment, or it's more an IT environment? I remember I did a test on Triton X, Triton safety, the one targeting safety system malware, and the hash value were not discovered in so many anti-malware. So you need to use the endpoint solution that support the industrial control system environment, in addition to IT environment, because we have the fear from both an IT malware and an OT design malware, like in Destroyer, in Triton, etc. Another concern here, when we talk about vendors, usually we find the main or the well-known ICS vendors supporting ICS cybersecurity, having a lot of partnership and having good experience. But when you ask where are they are mainly focused on the headquarters, and not easily you can get them here in, for example, in Saudi Arabia or in Kuwait. And what happened is you need to deal with both.
Yep. Okay. So how do you, I mean, if a vendor now visits, say, you know, a salesman from any cybersecurity vendor, and he knocks, say he comes to my company and he's offering a solution, whether it's asset management or IDS or whatever, and he tells me that it works for ICS and it supports ICS technology. What considerations or what checklist I don't know whoever is responsible to implement them should be taken? Like, how will you deal with this vendor, salesman, or will you?
Okay, here you need to here where we need to enhance the capability of our people. When I talk about procurement, purchasing, contracting, they need a certain level of cybersecurity. where they decide, am I dealing with the right salesman? Am I dealing with the right solution? Or is it just selling me a solution that does not benefit me or can cause a damage for me? And in such process, you need the involvement of the engineering department, the service and maintenance department as well. And the knowledge they have need to be enhanced in a way they can make judgment. They need to know what question they ask. For example, I have seen a salesman who is selling a next generation firewall for end user. I cannot mention the name here, and he is selling this next generation firewall after attending one-day workshop on next generation firewall. He never been involved in the process. He never did the research. He never read the book, and he's just selling it the second day. That next generation firewall does not fit to that process. It will cause more damage than advantage. If you put the next generation firewall between your SCADA, and between your control system, and it blocks the traffic when you send a command or when you receive the alarm, this could cause a disaster.
Wow.
So the one who's approving the solution need to be aware how to pick up the right solution. And you always need to conduct a proof of concept first before moving on with that solution to ensure it is securing your industrial control system, and at the same time, it will not cause any damage on the functionality and the availability of your industrial control system.
Wow, that's really good. So I remember you talked about the system integrator. What do you mean by system integrator, and why is it important for ICS security? What's his role?
Okay, the reason why I recommend system integrator, one of the reasons I have been a system integrator, starting my career with, and when I started in 2012 working in cybersecurity, it was very easy for me to understand what's going on and to take it and deploy it on ICS. And why? Because usually system integrator involved in multiple processes. So you find a system integrator working on pharmaceutical, working on refinery, doing certain tasks there, programming certain lines, for example. They are involved in food and beverage. They are involved in heavy industry, steel factory, diesel generator manufacturer. And at the same time, so they know multiple process. They know the risk that could happen to the process. What a small delay if I deploy a firewall could result in. And at the same time, they understand and deal with different OT ICS vendors. So usually you will work with systems like Allen Bradley PLC and SCADA Rockwell. They will deal with, for example, Siemens product, with Schneider, with Allen Bradley and Givano. So they understand different systems, different components, different communication protocols. And when they start handling this process, it becomes much easier when they start deploying a cybersecurity solution. I'll give you one example on that. So if you ask, for example, the cybersecurity vendor to start to develop a low-level design for your ICS system, and if you ask the same question for the system integrator, it will be very easy for the system integrator to do it. And from that, you can highlight what are the integration requirements, what are the risks, and the time you should need to do such activity. But when you ask the vendor who's providing the solution, I think it will not be an easy task to do it. So these are some of the reasons why system integrators should be involved in such a process. In addition to system integrators understand the criticalities of different systems and can they weigh it and decide, okay, you can use this or you cannot use it.
Okay, I mean, are the system integrators, do they are they local, like they work in the asset owner or the company, or they are from the vendor?
Okay, it depends on the solution we are dealing with. So if you take a company like Siemens today, like ABB, like Schneider, you can buy the product as a system integrator and you can do the programming and deliver the project. So in this case, the system integrator has major involvement in the process. I think in ICS like Yokogawa, and I hope I'm not wrong here, it can be only configured and managed by Yokogawa engineers, and not anyone. They don't just give it to any system integrator to get the job done. I think that's how they do it. So it depends on the solution from which vendor you are dealing with.
So if I want to install a new cybersecurity solution or control, I should get in touch with the system integrator first, right?
I would recommend, yeah, you get in touch with system integrator, you get in touch with vendors, and usually if we take the well-known vendors, let us put it an example here. If you are deploying an endpoint solution, for example, and one of the functionality in the endpoint solution, the excluding list for which files, HMI files, you cannot scan. Here, some vendors give a recommendation. Okay, this DLL files cannot be scanned. You have to exclude it from the scanning process. For example, this directory of the runtime application shall not be scanned. It has to be isolated, and similar situation like that. System integrator will assure you, okay, you deploy the cybersecurity solution, but your functionality and availability is not impacted with that. And what are the best practices to follow after that?
Okay, I mean, can you trust the system integrator? I mean, do they know normally, I mean, from your experience, do they know the impact of a solution on the process? Do they normally know, or sometimes they don't know? From your experience?
System integrator. Now, for example, if you take the boiler and you need to program the programmable logic controllers, for example, that is maintaining and controlling the boilers and the PID control, etc. Yeah. Usually, you will not hire just any system integrator to come and do the programming for that. Mm-hmm. There is a process behind it. You need a certified people. You need the people with the previous experience. And once you approve it, then they started delivering the project. When it comes to cybersecurity, I always request the involvement from the system integrator from the vendors in any cybersecurity solution deployment to support that process to assure the system functionality and availability are safe. But can I always trust the vendors? No, I cannot.
So you have sometimes to rely on your maybe understanding of the solution and maybe from experience on the process and how they function. Then you try to, or maybe do it in a test it in a lab, maybe, or while not in a live production process. Like when it's offline, then maybe you'll try the solution, or a demo maybe from the. I'm trying to brainstorm some alternative methods if the system integrator doesn't know or not sure. I was just suggesting these alternatives. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, the system integrator, one of the major key for his involvement is to assure your system is safe and still running. This is one point. Point number two, if system integrator can take it to the next level and enhance his cybersecurity knowledge, in a way he can deploy both cybersecurity solution and industrial control system solutions. This will be an A. And this is the best approach, as I said, I always recommend. When you deal with vendor, it's not necessarily that you don't trust the vendor himself, but the person who's representing the vendor. For example, he can recommend you an endpoint solution that does not support your ICS environment. It's an IT solution. I remember people used to use, for example, an APG, anti-malware, an industrial control system environment, the free version, long time ago. It's not an ICS solution, it's an IT solution, and it's not the right solution to pick up for such environment. A vendor, for example, representative who is suggesting using a next generation firewall with the sandboxing at level 2 or level 2.5 in your ICS environment. Okay, do you really know the environment? What if you are having a profile passing? What if you have a serial mode passing? How you will deploy such a solution? So the one who is purchasing the solution, the one who is approving the solution from the organization or from the end user, need to be able to make the judgment: is this the right solution? Is this the right process I'm following in deploying the solution? Am I talking to the right vendor or to the right representative from vendor side on deploying cybersecurity solution? I think this is a major part here, and today we have a big problem.
Yeah. And who should be responsible of this? That the one who is asking about the right solution and the right vendor. Whose role is this?
Okay, it's not a single department responsibility. It starts actually from the HR.
We go back to the structure that you mentioned at the beginning.
Exactly, because first of all, HR need to be able to hire the right people.
All right.
Are hiring the cybersecurity person, and you as a human resource, you do know what are the requirements, what are the qualifications. You know, just asking for certification, that's it. Then you will start bringing the disaster to your organization. So HR need to be aware of the people they are hiring and what are the qualifications they need. And they get support on that from the engineering department, from the services and operations department.
So, I mean, to choose the right solution or the technology, the engineering and the services department, they have to work together to accept, reject a solution.
Exactly, with the procurement So first of all, you need to hire the right people in your organization. You need to share certain level of knowledge with the procurement, including purchasing and contracting, on how to handle cybersecurity, how to manage the supply chain process. If we refer to C2M2, for example, one of the requirements for the supply chain is redundancy. And in all this process, we need to involve the engineering, the services, and the operation.
Nice. So, okay. So now it's a team of departments that work together to choose a solution. And it's not up to one guy or one specialty or one department. Okay.
No, once it becomes a one guy job or responsibility without collaborating between different departments, it becomes a disaster.
Oh, I mean,
So
that's
you don't want IT to be involved and come up with solutions without knowing what's really going on in ICS environment for that organization. And at the same time, we need to involve the right people. A project manager with IT background will bring a disaster, I believe. A project manager with OT, with ICS background and understanding of the environment and involving the right people will bring success, I would say.
so. As a consultant yourself, so if you see an external, if your company hires a consultant, like from outside, and they come to your company, so the consultant has to consult with these three departments as well, like, or he cannot just take his word literally. He has to also, when he giving you consultation, he has to consult with these departments, right?
Yeah, it depends on the assessment he is doing.
All right.
Usually,
Yeah.
to involve the stakeholders from different departments.
Okay, I'll give you one assessment. Say a consultant from a very well-known company in the world, and he's coming to do risk assessment for your company. So who should he consult? Now, my name is Suleiman. I'm coming from different company. I'm gonna do risk assessment, just consultation. So who should I talk to?
Everybody.
Yes.
When we talk about ICS, industrial control systems, we are considering the life cycle, the whole life cycle of the industrial control system. We are considering the supply chain of the industrial control system, and depending on what assessment the consultant is doing, if he is doing it based on C2M2 or NEST or whatever, he needs to decide based on the assessment, based on the scope of work, with whom he will do the interview and who will provide the best information. And if he cannot get the information from Mr. X, he needs to interview Mr. Y and Z. And if he doesn't do it that way, and he just, for example, meet with the manager of each division or department, then I think the assessment is failure, succeeding. You need to meet with the operation team, you need to understand and to come up with the best maturity result.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing a risk assessment now, I'm talking to you, Abdulrahman, you work there. So you will take me to the right people in this diagram, right? For example.
We don't, let's not put it, make it more specific to this diagram, because as I said here, I'm just recommending some sort of.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make this diagram looks more dynamic, more so the viewers will understand and link it with what
we're talking. Exactly, because
yes.
When it comes to cybersecurity in ICS, usually we miss the HR, usually we miss the procurement. We only focus on point number 4 and 5 and 6. That all of them play a major part when it comes to cybersecurity.
All right.
So you as an assessor, you need to define your stakeholders. And if you could not get an answer, you need to request to interview another stakeholders to get the information.
Okay.
And at the same time, and this is one of the challenges, you need to validate the information you are getting from the person you are interviewing. And you do that by doing a physical inspection, for example.
Okay.
Another method.
Okay, I got it. So I mean, you see this picture on the, the brain that you have in the slide. So you said the GRC, which stands for what? GRC.
Okay, GRC is usually where we have the governance and you have all the established policy and
All right.
and procedures.
Okay.
And usually it's managed by IT department for IT.
All right. So you have three descriptions here, like GRC, ICS security operation, and threat intelligence. Why these three exactly? Are they just examples, or why these three?
Yeah, these are only examples here I put it, and we have further more things, but I focus on these.
So these specialties.
Yeah, if you take ICS security and IT, you have the IT team, and now we have a special cybersecurity team who are responsible for ICS security operation.
Right.
And for this part, you cannot ask an IT operation team to come all the way and do the OT security operation in ICS. It's totally different. And here, in my opinion, you need to enhance the knowledge and the capability of the service and maintenance department to do such activity. In IT, if I am updating the anti-malware, the DAT file or the signature files in daily basis, in OT, I will do it for some endpoint, not all of them, on a monthly basis maybe, or every 6 months. Depending on the situation I am in and the process I'm running and the environment. In a refinery, it's different from cement factory, it's different from pharmaceutical. So operation, the best practice in operation to enhance the knowledge, develop the capability of the service and maintenance department, and in some organization, engineering department as well, where they have involvement in the process. Of course, you will end up at some level with a conflict of interest where the maintenance or the engineers in the environment, in the ICS environment, will have two tasks: one to do safety and maintenance on some production line, or to update the signature files for the endpoint solution. This is such an example. What is the highest priority? Should I do that, or should I do the update of endpoint signature files?
Cool. Nice.
Or otherwise, you hire a person with expertise in ICS and cybersecurity to manage such a job. When we take threat intelligence and under threat intelligence, we have, for example, the penetration testing, the vulnerability scanning. In my opinion, I don't expect to come all the way until service and maintenance department or engineering department. Guys, tomorrow you are taking a training with whatever company name is, and you will become our expert, and you will go and do the penetration testing, and you will do the vulnerability scanning. It makes no sense. Here you need to hire a third party with expertise in the field, because it will be a huge investment. And at the same time, in OT environment, unlike IT, you don't do such activity on monthly basis, or maybe you do it on yearly basis, or even every 4 or 5 years. Depending even on the shutdown period you have in your industrial control system environment. Like in some refinery, they do it every 4 or 3 years, once. So this is one of the examples for threat intelligence. Another example for threat intelligence is doing a pen testing in industrial control system. And if you are a third party, usually people inside the organization will take 10 steps back. They might fight with you and shout because you don't touch our system, you don't do pen testing on our system. You will cause damage to that. So some organizations tend to have a lab setup similar to what they have or what is running, and they do the penetration testing. Of course, the bigger the organization, the more it is distributed in different locations with different system and assets being used, it will become a difficult task to get it done. So threat intelligence is not something you ask your people to do it inside any industrial control system environment. You need to hire people specialized in that. And that's why I put the brain picture here, because I don't expect to go to operation team and tell them, guys, we need you to do this job. You need them to focus on what they are doing.
So that's the secret of the brain image. That's
it. And you need to appreciate also the knowledge those people have, because if I go to the operator and he's been doing the job for 10 years, and I ask him to do some sort of penetration testing, that really makes no sense. And not anyone can do a penetration testing. Same goes with GRC, the third example here, because in GRC, you have to develop the framework. And if you let the IT people do the framework, it will be based on IT requirement framework, not OT requirement. Then you have the policy, which has to be separated from OT environment. And you need support from all engineering services and operation. When it comes under GRC, the procedure, the guideline, it has to be developed with engineering, with services and operation department, with their support and with the support from the vendors. Because what you have fit in operational technology does not fit in IT. You have different backup and restore program being used. You have different vendors, and each one of them has his own procedure on how to handle things.
Wow, that's really something. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your tips and advice on many aspects that we covered so far. Thank you, Abdulrahman. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sulaiman. And I think it's a long topic, and we try to make it short.
Yeah, we're just touching the surface, but I have to, go back to every word in the slide so the audience makes sense of everything, even, just the basics. I'm sure that there are too much to say about everything here you said, but we just warming up with OT security, and this won't be the last one with you, of course, because we appreciate that you've been for more than 10 years in OT security, and so there's gonna be another meeting, of course.
Sure, Sulaiman, and thank you very much for that.
Sure. So, I mean, before we finalize the interview, so how can you summarize everything that you've said here and give us a lesson or advice that we should take from this this interview?
Yeah, sure. So summarizing, cybersecurity is not a single department or division responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility within the organization. When it comes to industrial control system, HR play a major role by hiring the right people. Procurement, purchasing, and contracting, they need to play a major role in the supply chain. They need to ensure they are targeting the right vendors and system integrator. Engineering department with multiple responsibilities they have. Services and maintenance department, operation department, they need to be aware of cybersecurity and what responsibility they have and how they can support the organization. And and IT and GRC department, they really need to decide when we engage and when we don't, and what level of knowledge they need to enhance if they were assigned to be involved in OT and ICS related activities. We need to understand the different responsibility we have within the organization, and we need to define the existing rule and how we can enhance it, and where we have gap and where we need involvement of system integrators, supplier, and vendors. So this is a quick summary about the discussion we have today.
Oh, that's really good. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of it. Appreciate you watching this, and thank you very much. And for my friends in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, we apologize because we made this interview in English, not in Arabic. The reason why we want to show everybody in the world what's happening in OT security in our region. And that's why we chose English, despite it's not our native language, but we'd rather use it because we want everybody to benefit from this interview. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Abdulrahman. So I will, sure.
Catch up later.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I will mention Abdulrahman's Twitter and YouTube in this description. And if you like this, you know, give us a thumb or subscribe. This channel is really growing. And so thank you very much. Sulaiman Al-Hasawi, ICS Arabia. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.